I love me a good happy ending, and that is what I'm here to share with you today. I wanted to bring you guys up to speed on what has happened in the last 7 days because it has been a lot. But first, before I get into any of that, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to all 7,000 of you that chimed in and sent me your love and your prayers and your words of encouragement. They breathed life into me at 2 and 3 in the morning when I would read them. These have been really hard days, and in my ask at the end of my video that I recorded last week, which I will link for you in the description box below for just to bring you guys up to speed, I had asked for, if you believe in prayer, to send your prayers or whatever you believe in, if it's positive vibes, whatever it is, if you can send them our way and in my daughter's name, because it was hard. I recorded that video on a whim, and it was vulnerable because I promised my viewers that I would always be raw and real, that I would be transparent, because the fact of the matter is we're all sick and tired of perfection. We're all sick and tired of everything being aesthetically perfect and wonderful, and that's not life. That is not life. So I'm here to share with you the details of what has happened and where we are right now. So last week I sat right here, right on this bed with the same suitcase behind me that I am just, reorganizing my toiletries. But I sat here in a very vulnerable moment and I shared with you why I have been MIA for 3 weeks and where I was headed. And I was headed to the state that my daughter lives in because she had suffered an additional setback in her recovery. Again, more details in the video that is in the description box. But long story short is that my daughter had a baby on the 16th via C-section. She came home on the 18th and was readmitted on the 22nd with the diagnosis of a bowel obstruction. And I want to kind of veer off a little bit and talk about C-sections / abdominal surgeries. I think as society, we have been so conditioned to say C-sections are part of birth. It's just normal. But if you take away the baby and you look at the process and the procedure, it is major abdominal surgery. And we need to, as just a society, especially if you're a mom or a grandmother, in my case, I'm a grandmother now, we need to push these health systems and be advocates and supports for our children when they are in the hospital this way, even though they're adults. We need to be their voices of reason. Why? Because we've been there. Yes, my daughter has a husband, but he is not equipped to speak to the nurses and the staff in a way that benefits his wife. He becomes very defensive. His words come out very abrupt and short and not very clear because he's vulnerable as well, right? But as mothers and as grandmothers, we have this wonderful gut and intuition that keeps us laser focused. We remove the emotion and we are so focused on their recovery that our messages are crystal clear. They are crisp and they are direct, but they are respectful. And I want us to start feeling confident about that because I know for a fact that my daughter, while she received amazing care, should she have come home 3 days after giving birth? Probably not. My father had colorectal surgery. He had colon cancer. And when they removed his tumor, they had him in the hospital for 6 days in recovery. We can birth a whole child through the same similar type of surgery, right? Where they cut your abdominal wall, they cut you wide open. You deliver a whole human, yet women are told, yes, you have a C-section. These are the little things you're supposed to look out for. But here's your baby. Take care of it, produce milk, nurture it, do skin to skin, get some sleep, try to eat. I don't understand it. I don't understand how our patriarchal health system here in the US can continue to function like this. We are setting our women up for failure. It is no wonder that postpartum depression is at skyrocketing amounts. It is not a surprise to me why women are put on antidepressants, why women are genuinely not feeling overly happy when they bring this infant, this new human being into their home. Our health systems are not set up that way. Let's look at other countries. Let's look at Africa, right? Let's look at, Europe. Let's look at Denmark. Yes, women are discharged to go home, but not only do they have a nurse that comes to take care of the mom, they have a nurse that comes and takes care of the baby as well, right? They offer all these additional home services to new moms so that moms can truly heal. We don't have that set up here. Okay, a video for another day. I don't want to go down that tangent. That is not the purpose of this video, but my goodness, we just need to do better. We need to do better. And because we don't have those additional ancillary services for our new moms, that's when we step in, right? As mothers ourselves, that's when we step in and we start to escalate the level of care that your children receive. I don't care what age they are. At least that's the kind of mom that I am, and that's the kind of relationship I have with my daughters. So when my daughter called me last Friday to tell me that she was going to be admitted for the third time after having a baby. So let's do the timeline here real quick. She had the baby on the 16th, came home on the 18th, readmitted to the hospital on the 22nd with a bowel obstruction due to the C-section. Her bowels just never woke up. Came home, was not able to eat. Her baby is 5 days postpartum, or 6 days postpartum at this point. She gets readmitted into the hospital, gets an NG tube, a nasogastric tube, inserted in her nose to empty the contents of her stomach. Yes, you heard me right. Yep, everything she couldn't get out, it was actually getting pulled through and out of her nose. This may be TMI for a lot of you. I am not going to apologize because this is real. This is happening to women all over the world, and women are dying from complications of childbirth. They are dying from complications of C-sections. And we are so quick to say, oh yeah, she had a C-section. In 5 days, she was fine. She was up running around like washing clothes. Have we given her an option? Women don't have options. I'm generally speaking here because it feels the percentage is higher than not. But women, we have things to do. We have to maintain a home. We have to do all of these other ancillary activities because we don't have the infrastructure and the support system set up, not only at the home with family and friends, but also not in our healthcare system. And so I don't look to give women, stars and stripes for in 5 days getting up and already able to carry her newborn infant, feed a 2-year-old, and manage an entire household. That is not warranting stripes and stars. That is actually very sad to me, and it really hurts my heart when I hear that, because that tells me that there is no support system there. And my daughter being in a different state, I felt that very wholeheartedly. Anyhow, so when my daughter called me, so this happened, I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth, but on the 22nd, she was readmitted. She came home on the 27th. The 26th. I came back, I left on the 28th. She still had not been eating well. She was still only on ice chips or drinking warm liquids. Anything cold would cause cramping and distension. She lost 47.5 pounds over a 3-week period. That is not okay. And I kept telling her every day, you need to really look at your symptoms, call your doctor. You're not really responding well to food, and this isn't normal. And so I really pushed her to do that. I made her schedule an appointment. I left on the 28th. She had a follow-up appointment with her OBGYN on the 6th. The OBGYN, and this is not even her specialty, but she said, I think you need to go to the ER. It sounds like you have another obstruction. Well, of course, naturally, my daughter's devastated. She feels as though the world is falling on her shoulders. All she wants to do is be with her newborn baby that she has not been able to spend time with. The 4 days that she was in the hospital, 2.5 of them was spent with an NG tube, and one, in her nose, an IV in another. All she wanted to do was hold her baby, put him on her chest, and be a mom. That is all she wanted to do, but she couldn't. She couldn't. And so when she was readmitted, she felt completely defeated. She felt as though her body was not doing what it was supposed to be doing. It's bad enough that she had to stop breastfeeding, but now she has another part of her body that's not responding. And when she called me and she was hysterical and screaming on the phone, I initially, viscerally, right, you want to cry with them, but I knew that that wasn't going to serve her or serve me. So part of my job was to tell her that this was okay. In order for us to get to the other side of this, we have to go through it. I had to speak life into her. I had to tell her, your hardest job has already been done. You gave birth to a beautiful, healthy son. Your body can do amazing things. Your body can heal from this. You just need a little bit of help, and you will get it. So the surgery was scheduled for the next day. I immediately went into this frenzy where I started to, look at flights. I booked my flight. I started to pack, and I sat right here on this bed and shared that vulnerable story with you with the same suitcase that's right behind me. I am just organizing some toiletries, but the reality is, like, we need to speak up for the women in our lives, whether it's your mother, your granddaughter, your daughter, your niece, your cousin, your sister. It doesn't matter who it is. We need to speak up, and we need to advocate for them when they are bedside. How is my daughter supposed to advocate and speak for herself? She has an NG tube in her throat, up her nose. She has an infant in her arm, an IV in another. How is she supposed to, think of all the questions that she wants to ask and also absorb that information while her body is still trying to heal? It was so much and overwhelming that we need to stop making it feel small that women give birth. We need to stop making that look and feel small, because it's not. It is a major human process that we go through. So, I booked a flight. My flight left at 7. I arrived around closer to 10. I get my rental car, and I'm able to make it into her room at 10:45 because she told me her surgery was scheduled for 11 a.m. I get to the hospital at 10:45. She thought I was going to her house first to unpack. She didn't realize that I was going to the hospital. And so I ran to her and I hugged her. No sooner am I at her bedside, the door opens up and it's her surgeon. Because I'm going to say this again, I said it in my previous video. Don't ever underestimate the power of a mother's intuition, the power of a woman's intuition. And when you are a true servant of God and you believe in the power of prayer and His mission and goals for you, He aligns it. He aligns it. He is intentional. You believe in who you want to believe in. I believe in God personally. So that's the perspective that I'm speaking from. And that's exactly what happened. The surgeon came in. He explained the scenarios, the risks, the surgery. He said it can take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. If there's complications, we're leaning more into the 4-hour mark. But if it's not, if we can keep it laparoscopically, I should be done in 2 hours, a little bit over 2 hours. So I'm left in this room. They take my daughter at 1:30. I'm left in this room praying and waiting for the nurse to come back to tell me where to go for the post-op surgical waiting room. Waited and waited, praying and praying. No one came. I found the nurse and she said, oh, just go on the second floor and ask for anybody in scrubs. Where's the surgical waiting room? Somebody will direct you. Now, they won't even let you out of the main floor without taking your license and giving you the sticker for your ID, right? But meanwhile, they're letting you roam around the floors of this hospital and asking any random person any question. If I had bad intentions, that's a risk for the hospital. I will be writing a letter to the director of operations for the hospital because something better can be done in that process. Anyhow, I'm getting down a rabbit hole again. Anyhow, I find the surgical waiting room. I call the PACU nurse because it's Saturday, so that means there's nobody at the help desk. There's no one at the front desk. Call the nurse, the number that's on the little stand. They have a phone there. I called that, spoke to a PACU nurse and explained to her my situation, told her I'm here, I'm waiting. It would be great if the doctor can come out and speak to me and give me an update on the surgery. She said, no problem. And I finally sat down after giving my family an update. I sit down and I'm praying the rosary. I'm on my last decade, my last, couple of rosaries, Hail Marys to do. And I hear the doors of the operating room open, or at least the waiting room, and it's the surgeon. He came out. It was less than an hour. He came out and he said he was able to do it laparoscopically. He found 3 different obstructions. And the most interesting thing was she knew she had an umbilical hernia. The crazy part is that the bowels made its way into the hernia, into the sac of the hernia, and that was causing her the most discomfort, which is why she was having those gases and that reflux and that vomiting feeling all the time. And she had 2 other areas of obstructions. One of them, he had to open up her C-section a little bit, go through there to clean everything out. But the surgery was a success. And my daughter had the surgery on the 7th. She came home on the 9th. And she was home and feeling better than ever. She was still concerned that she had not moved her bowels for 4 days. And she ended up seeing her surgical team today. She had a follow-up appointment, and the nurse practitioner that saw her on the floor every day from even the first, or at least the admission from the 22nd and the admission on the 7th, that same nurse practitioner that saw her on the floor saw her today and explained to her, this is normal. You probably won't go for 4 to 6 days, so you're right on the marker. Increase your fiber. She gave her a new nutrition plan. My daughter feels wonderful. And when she FaceTimed me this morning after her appointment, I will say that after I hung up with her, I cried. And I cried tears of, I was trying to get through this video without crying. I cried tears of thankfulness, of rejoice and joy and peace for her. I cried tears of happiness for her, that she is finally able to be present with her baby and her daughter, that she can focus on a good path forward and healing. I didn't cry on the phone, but immediately after she told me, Mom, I'm so happy. This is the best news that I've received. I feel like I'm finally feeling like myself. And that to me is what you want to hear in your children, especially when they're going through something so traumatic and so deeply painful to them. I am happy for her. I'm happy for my son-in-law, for my granddaughter, and for my grandson. I know that God is going to continue to heal and will continue to get her on the right path of recovery. And that is the happy ending. That is my happy ending. I just wanted to bring you guys up to speed and give you a really good update, because last week it was pretty scary. Amazing what can happen in a week. And here we are. All right, my friends. That is all that I have for you for today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your prayers. Please continue to pray for her and her family. Thank you for your love and your support and your words of encouragement. They mean the world to me. And I love you all for that. I love this community. I'm so happy that I started this channel. I am so happy. Okay. That is all for now. And until the next one, adios.